The first general session of the 75th Annual Convention of the Louisiana Municipal Association will now come to order.
Welcome to the Louisiana Municipal Association Convention. I'm Tammy Arender. The LMA represents cities, towns, and villages all across Louisiana.
We meet each year in August to discuss just different issues and give training on how to keep up with the modern technology of today.
Certainly retirement issues are probably the most challenging that are facing all of our communities today. With the cost of retirement increasing and the municipalities having to shoulder that burden, it certainly is probably the most pressing issue that we're challenged with at this time.
Budget, money, infrastructure, there's always needs out there, and of course federal funding is being cut almost on a daily basis. Also state funding is being drastically cut. No one wants to vote for new taxes, so we just try to have to deal with what we have with our budgets and do more for less.
One of the main issues we have in Sterlington right now is we're going through a very rapid growth period. We had the new $14 million elementary school that has opened up last year, and it has really spurned our residential growth and our commercial growth in Sterlington. And one of the biggest challenges that we have is actually finding the money to put in the necessary infrastructure to accommodate all the growth.
Retirement issues. I think everybody across the country is dealing with retirement issues, particularly on the public safety side. And then obviously that comes all the time as infrastructure, because of the aging infrastructure of all of us and all of our cities. That's a major issue for us, and that's where we look for help in different aspects.
The same issue that probably is facing all the communities all across the country actually is the economy. We're looking for economic development. We're very fortunate here that we have a good opportunity to make some projects come to fruition. We're working right now on about $10 billion in projects that we hope to be able to actually break ground on. They've already been announced, and they're in the due diligence phase, and hopefully by the first of the year we'll have some pretty good announcements to make and some pretty good opportunities for some really major groundbreaking projects that are going to really not only add investment in terms of construction projects but also permanent employment as well. So we're optimistic, but we're not going to just rest on our laurels, so to speak. We still have other projects in the mill and the things that we're working on to expand and diversify from an economic development standpoint.
All of us are always concerned about the budget, but of course we're in Monroe. We're doing a pretty good job with the budget, and we'll continue to do that. But with the economy the way it is on a local level, on the state level, as well as on the national level, we always have a lot of challenges trying to deal with it. But we're very, very pleased with what's happening in the city of Monroe.
One of our biggest needs right now is infrastructure improvements. We kind of fell behind with that, and we're undertaking about a $12 to $14 million sewer rehab of all our sewer lines. We're trying to get a 4-lane boulevard built to kind of like a bypass road. It's about $5 million. We're fixing to do another road. Roads and traffic are becoming one of our biggest issues as we grow. And, we're still growing probably as fast as any city in the state.
Right now it's retirement. We keep seeing retirement go up, particularly the fire and police. Fire right now is costing us, police right now is costing us 31 cents on every dollar we pay our policemen. And we're all seeing health insurance. So, the two big issues really is retirement and health insurance.
Now I want to briefly just touch on a couple things that you can do specifically to help position your community for more job growth. One of them is to work on developing sites. One of the things that's happened in our recruitment efforts is the site selection processes have gotten faster and faster and faster over the years. It's not uncommon today for us to get a request for information today with a due date for Monday. And part of that request for information is what are sites that would meet the criteria of this particular company. If you don't already have sites that are designated in your community to attract manufacturing, to attract call centers, or whatever it may be that your community wants to attract, most of the time you're going to get left out. Not because companies wouldn't look positively at your community, not because they would view it negatively from a quality of life perspective, but simply because when they start that selection process, the first step is not selecting a site, it's actually eliminating sites from consideration. And if you don't have something to propose to them quickly, you're going to get left out. Our cities and really all of our municipalities play critical roles in our economic development efforts. They do that by helping us develop sites to attract new companies to Louisiana, to help existing companies grow and expand right here in our state. They're also important in terms of incentives and permitting and just providing a great business climate at the local level for businesses to expand. In fact, many of the biggest projects that we've been able to secure across Louisiana were aided in large part by the efforts of our local mayors.
Tell us a little bit about where does Louisiana rank right now in terms of progress in economic development?
Well, we're doing very, very well. Louisiana and Texas are the only two states in the South that have more jobs today than we had at the beginning of the national recession. In fact, over the last year, Louisiana has been the second fastest growing state in the country in terms of employment growth. We're seeing terrific job growth across the state. Companies continuing to invest in Louisiana at a much faster rate than the South and the U.S. overall.
Between these two, former incoming president and outgoing president, we've devised maybe an idea that we're going to work the details out, but I'm happy to share it with you that because you've taken the step, Tom, Ed, and Roland, that cities mean business, and because I chair the Small Business Committee in the Senate, I was thinking, preparing for this speech, that I'd love to offer to the LMA an opportunity to host some sort of summit for the mayors and their guests, and we can think about how that should be done, to really focus on some right now, real-time strategies for economic development of small business and entrepreneurship that I don't think we spend enough time on. We woo big companies in, and that's wonderful. We're thrilled to have Cheniere. I helped walk that permit through to get it to be the first export of natural gas in the country, and was happy that that announcement was made, $1 billion. The governor and I work very closely together. Steve Murray, who is terrific, we work together hand in hand to try to land big companies where we can get them in Louisiana, and I've done my share of that as well. But really the heart and soul, Hilda, of the heartbeat of Louisiana is small business and entrepreneurship, and there are lending programs and strategies. If mayors want to be their top economic development leader, which all mayors and members of the council should be. You all should have your economic development cap on. I will help to put a summit together to really share with you all some of the smart strategies that smart governments are doing with the private sector and the faith-based community to really help make all of our communities more vital and more robust. Our message is to the mayors to keep the faith that as people argue about whether government should be big, strong, or weak, it should be smart. And they're on the front lines of delivering smart government for their communities, trying to be cost-effective, championing transportation, education, small business growth and development, and my office can be very helpful as these mayors try to carry out their responsibilities. So I know a little bit about cities, having been the daughter of a mayor and now the sister to the mayor of New Orleans, and just here to tell them that my office is here to help every step of the way.
Local governments came to Washington and said, listen, when it comes to the highway transportation bill, we would prefer a 5-year bill instead of a shorter bill. It takes us 5 years to do the community meetings, to come up with the plans, to let the contract, and then for the roads to be built. A 5-year funding source gives us security all the way through the process. Unfortunately, again because of the fights over the budget, Congress could only come up with a 2-year bill. House Republicans pushed for a 5-year bill to be paid in part with royalty from drilling on federal lands for oil and gas. The Democrat Senate did not want to use royalties they don't want to drill for oil and gas, so therefore they didn't want to use those royalties. We could not get the 5-year bill we desired, could only get the 2-year bill, but Louisiana will be getting back all of the money it sends to Washington from its gasoline tax fund.
You mentioned the Farm Bill and a possibility of the loss of rural development funds for homeowners. How is that going to affect Louisiana?
Yeah, a lot of our communities which have been classified as rural may not be any longer. So in the 6th Congressional District, that would include a community like Central or Zachary, maybe Denham Springs or Walker. And I could go throughout Louisiana, but those come top to mind. Those rural development funds sometimes can be used by realtors and homeowners to help purchase new homes. those funds may not be there for some of these communities like those I listed. So there's going to be a transition. Folks who used to be able to buy a home with that sort of loan guarantee at a cheaper interest rate may no longer be able to get them.
Let's talk about chicken. I want you to say $2.6 billion, $2,600 million. That's chicken in Louisiana. If you look at the golden age of agriculture, agriculture has grown 27% in 2 years. We've grown our exports, and we know that, don't we, Mayor Foster, by 20% in 2 years. When you look at what is going on, the majority of this state, 85% of the state is in agriculture, forestry, and aquaculture. And what else do we have? What's under all that land? Oil, gas, water. Oil, gas, and more precious than gold is water. Look at what is going on in agriculture today. Think about it. Think about it in your hometowns. Have you ever seen so much economic activity in agriculture? Corn right now is hovering around $8.20. It was pushing $9. Beans at $17. Look at sugar. Have you ever seen such a good sugar crop? At 30.5 cents. Think about that. Record amount of wheat this year. Wheat is trading at around $8.50, headed to $9. 2 years ago, we were selling it for $2. If you look at what's going on in agriculture, strong, continued growth.
One of the most important things for local government, statewide, and the people who are here now is the Attorney General's office and getting timely opinions and save taxpayers millions and millions of dollars by doing a high-quality legal work that I'm awful proud we've been able to do. So in 4.5 years, we delivered. We get a request of 30 to 80 opinions a week statewide that involve the local issues for the people here. And if they can avoid a $200 an hour lawyer and we give them good legal advice and they can rely on it, God knows how much money we have saved the state. It's been hundreds of millions of dollars in 4.5 years, and I'm awful proud of that. And that's the basic message. We're accessible. Ask us. We want to avoid any problems in our towns and cities with our mayors, and everybody has problems. And we're there to minimize them and to give the hard thing that costs the most money to straighten out is legal advice, and that's what we do.
When you can't pull that little silver lever, the wife, the family, no one is happy around you. Doesn't matter how much money you make, doesn't matter how great you think you are, when you pull that chain and nothing happens, you're in trouble. So why should we invest in wastewater infrastructure? Well, because municipalities are able to attract those investment opportunities, such as industry and business relocations, expansions, as well as residential and commercial real estate ventures. And it's through wastewater infrastructure improvements that we laid a foundation not only for a great environmental protection program in our state, but also to grow those jobs, to bring those industries, to retain our young people who keep leaving our state. If we have the jobs, our young people will stay. And since 2008, DEQ's wastewater program has been able to invest over $350 million into over 55 parishes, and you're looking at about 115 municipalities. So basically, a third of Louisiana municipalities have been served by this program in the last 4.5 years. And I think that's a testament to our staff. Please give them a round of applause.
In the presidential election, you know, Louisiana is unique in that our elections are done by on Saturdays when most folks are not working, availability, and of course we have the whole week of early voting. And I'm going to urge people more than ever to go early vote for the presidential election, because the presidential election is on a Tuesday, a work day. So what happens on those days is that you have a huge influx before work, you got a huge influx at lunchtime, and you have a huge influx late after work. And so you have lines where you usually don't anticipate them. So if you can get it out of the way in early vote, it'll be to your benefit, because we don't want folks having to be delayed in long lines, which I know they traditionally are not used to.
I was reading a book not too long ago, and it was about the early phases of World War II, and things weren't going well. We had just deployed American troops on North African soil, and at the time, General Eisenhower was in charge, and things were going very poorly. So he went out to the front one night to see exactly what was happening. And it was on the eve of a very important battle, key battle, that was going to make or break our presence in North Africa. And as General Eisenhower was leaving after the meetings with the other commanders on the ground, he happened to overhear 1 or 2 in the morning, just hours before the combat was going to commence, he happened to hear a young American captain, talking to his troops, green troops, haven't been in combat before. And here's what that captain said. This means a lot to me personally. I carry it every single day in my pocket ever since I read that. And I read it on a regular basis. And I'm going to quote what it says. This young captain said, "We do not pray for victory, nor even for our individual safety, but we pray for help, that none of us may let a comrade down, that each of us may do his duty to himself, to his comrades, and his country, and so be worthy of our American heritage." That's beautiful. That is so American. It's so American. And I think it's in the hearts of each and every one of you in public service. Each and every one of you. I know it's in my heart. Let us remember that. Let us do what we can so that we don't let our constituents down at this time of need. I know we're all going to work together. I know we're going to achieve success. And we're going to make Louisiana one of the greatest states in the nation. So listen, it was very nice to be with you.
The LMA also held a number of workshop sessions throughout the convention.
Preparedness, response, and recovery lessons learned. And we understand, there's a lot of new officials at the local level, and by passing on these messages, these lessons learned that we have gathered over the years, we hope that they'll take these messages and bring them back to their local jurisdictions and be better prepared to respond to disasters.
The topic today was hazard mitigation grants and how the state administers those and helps oversee those throughout the state.
How does the municipalities plug into that?
The municipalities can participate through the parishes or through a higher level of government to apply for and procure grants, start to rebuild and do elevation work and reconstructions.
We want to get all the small communities in the United States prepared for disasters. A lot of emphasis is put on the large communities and the counties or the parishes and of course the states to get prepared. And the small communities sometimes are overlooked. So we need to get to hometown America.
What's your best advice for small rural communities to be prepared?
Have a plan. Have a plan. Have an emergency operations plan that talks about exactly who's responsible for what, when, where, and how they go about getting things in gear ready when the storm hits or the disaster hits. Because it's a lot more than just natural disasters out there today.
My message today is for, addressing the employment side of the use of social media in the workplace and what employers can do to encourage employees to use social media, but at the same time to avoid problems in the workplace.
What are some of the problems that are common in the workplace?
Issues right now are that employers are asking subordinates to friend their supervisors, and employees are really feeling uncomfortable with doing that because of various privacy issues. And then the other challenge for employers is having a policy that's effective and lawful.
What about employers' rights to prohibit employees from using social media during the workplace on company computers?
That's always been an issue. That the employers have the right to obviously say what employees can and cannot do during company time, but then the issue becomes to the extent there are other rights, like the rights of employees to sort of engage in communications about the work place during work hours, and employers really don't have the right to say you can't do that. So there's a fine line as far as what employers can and cannot prohibit during work hours.
The problem is very simple. We as a society have a huge use for information, and we've never really stopped long enough to realize how that information is secured, protected, and stored. And so thieves have actually realized that we can target these types of organizations, access that information a lot better, a lot faster, and a lot simpler, and utilize that information for profit making.
And what is it that you recommend to municipalities?
It's a very simple message. Be proactive. take the precautionary steps. You know, there are costly versions and it's complicated and it's confusing, but take the precautions that you can do, such as assessments and know where your information's at, put policy procedure, and really the most important thing is staff training, education. Educating the public and your employees about these new issues and concerns is the best thing that you can do for your community.
We talked to everyone today about the Louisiana Rural Water Association, about the programs that we have. LRWA is all about technical assistance and training. We are funded by the United States Department of Agriculture and EPA on the federal side, and we also get state contracts. And we help out a lot of utilities with leak detection programs and try to help them out with funding as well. With the programs that we have, it doesn't cost any of the utilities anything to utilize us. And instead of them using contractors to pay them for the programs for the problems that they have, we can come in there and do it for nothing. When we talk about the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act, it all has to do about water or clean water. And safe drinking water when you open up your taps is what it's all about. And we can help the utilities and the mayors and the boards save a lot of the monies and use on something else that we can get the water out to the people and in a safe, potable way.
We are exploring a model of working with communities, towns, small towns and cities about launching a health initiative within their locale.
What kind of success stories have you seen around the state?
We went on a site visit to Hernando, Mississippi, and were inspired by their success in this area, and would like to introduce a replication of their model. And they've had great success with a health initiative in Hernando, Mississippi.
What do they do?
The mayor implemented this as part of his platform when he went into office, and he focused on improving community health as one of his platform items, and he helped develop youth programs, established a Parks and Recreation department. They've started a farmers market, they've done community gardens, they've started nutrition education programs, fitness programs like walking, bicycling, working on their sidewalks, improving their sidewalks, bicycle lanes in towns, things like that we think would be beneficial to any town that undertook it.
My topic is municipal storm sewer systems. I'm a permit writer with DEQ for stormwater, and we're here to educate people about how to basically keep their streets clean, keep pollutants from coming in contact with stormwater. When they do, they run off into the watersheds and pollute our waters.
What advice do you have for municipalities?
For municipalities, well, one, read your permit. We do issue permits to the cities and parishes, and really work with your people to educate them, remind them don't paint down the storm drain, don't throw pesticides out on the side of the road. You need to dispose of chemicals and everything properly. We don't want any of that going into the storm drains.
Just want to kind of bring the message of ethics to everybody. This applies to all public servants, and so we just want to make sure they understand what laws they're subject to so they don't end up having to see us more than once a year.
We're talking about legislative bodies, so really what the best thing would be if we could have both their charter, their own rules of order, and then Robert's rules of order. We don't have that, but we'll do the best we can today because our purpose is to bring order out of chaos. I mean, when you find yourself in a hole, you need to stop digging and look for the light. And Robert's rules of order provides a great deal of that light.
Why is it important for public meetings to be conducted by a standard set of rules?
Oh, well, that's because you have to have order. You have to all be going in the same direction. You can disagree, but you still have to be going in the same direction. And if there's chaos, then you're not going to. And that's the only purpose of Robert's Rules of Order. It may sound, if you tried to read that book from the beginning to the end, as though it were complicated, but you can simplify things. You can simplify things, and one way to do that is to even change the wording so that it is easier for you than when General Roberts wrote it.
Today we're talking about using federal and state funds on local projects, on local transportation projects specifically. One of the most important things to economic development is having a good transportation system to move goods and people around and allow us to access those businesses that we need to spend money at.
We're here to both celebrate and invest into the young people of Louisiana. This is a conference for municipal leaders to come from around the state to talk about how to make their cities better. And one of the most important ways to invest into making our cities better are to invest into the young people. So really celebrating not just our young people, but actual strategies to invest into their futures.
You have to pay attention to the young people. Regardless, starting at pre-K. Take time to go to their schools and check on them. I have lunch with kids at school. I read to kids. I'm in plays. I do everything. I love to read Dr. Seuss to kids. But make sure that you take a little time to explain to them even your job and what's involved in your job, but let them know that people care about them. And a lot of those kids never hear the words, "I love you." When you see that kid, tell that kid, "I love you, and I want you to go back home and tell your parents I love you as well." So it's really a fest in the sense of everybody coming together for a common cause, and that's to make sure we turn kids away from violence and turn them towards education, which will solve a lot of problems.